Good evening. Tonight I want to do a review on the Ascend FS12T Sit on Top Kayak found at Bass Pro Shops. So I've had this kayak for about a year now, and I've got a lot of hours on the water with it, both big water, small water, lakes, oceans, rivers, everything. So I pretty much know the ins and outs of it. I've also rigged most of the kayak the way I like it. There's a couple changes that I would advise or things that I'm going to do in the future. But I'm going to touch on the good things, the bad things, my suggestions for the boat. So first of all, I really like it, I'm happy with it, and for the price, you really can't beat it. And I actually got it on sale at a discount, so I got an even better price. Bought the kayak, the paddle, and my life vest, all for a very good price last year in about June. So I'm just going to start with a couple things that I like about it. I like the seat. It's very comfortable. Obviously spending a lot of hours sitting down in this. I've had uncomfortable seats in the past as well as some comfortable ones, and I will say that this is one of the more comfortable ones I've had. There's a lot of storage on the boat. In the back of the boat you have a spot for either a cooler or a crate or extra gear, whatever you want, and up front there's some tie downs as well. It does come with this fishing pole holder as well in the front. I have moved it, as you can see. It also comes with a rod holder here that's flush mount and one on the side, and it comes with a paddle keeper built in. You can see they're right here. They flip down when they're not in use, flip up, and you just click the paddle in. See, it's pretty handy. I use that pretty much every time I transport it. The kayak does have 6 scupper holes. There are 2 in the front here, 2 underneath the seat, and 2 in the back. As far as inside the hull storage, there's a big hatch here that opens. You get in there, and there's a round 6-inch dry hatch here. That's pretty much it for storage. So for drainage, again, there are the scupper holes. There's 6 of them, 2 in the front, 2 in the middle, and 2 in the back. There is only one actual drain hole for the inside of the hull, and that's on the back left corner. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it's back here. That comes stock on the boat. I added another one. Okay, so as far as pros and cons of the boat itself, it's long, which means it's pretty stable and heavy in high wave conditions. It's also very wide. Sitting down, I've had very few problems. Again, I've had this out in the ocean on pretty rough conditions, windy, wavy, everything. So as far as stability sitting down, it's very good. Standing up, you can do it. I would not recommend it without pontoons on the side. I do it from time to time, but I pretty much just stay seated when I'm fishing from this boat. Another thing I'd like to mention too, I forgot before, was there are these 2 foot cleats here. They do move. I've got them set where it's comfortable for me, but you can adjust them if you're taller than I am or if you're short. And also there's a handle on the front and a handle on the back. I'll get to more about those later. So the length and width of the kayak do provide pretty good stability. As far as features, I do like most of the features on the boat. I think everything that went into the boat was pretty well thought out. There's a couple things that I do not like, and there are a couple things that I really like. So as far as things that I do not like, the drainage on the boat is something to be desired. The scupper holes seem to be placed at the highest locations that they could be. If you were to remove the seat, which it folds down and slides out and it's adjustable and everything. But if you remove the seat and see the 2 holes right here, they're at the highest point underneath the seat. So to me that doesn't make sense, and if you take them out while you're in the ocean, your butt gets wet a lot. The other thing is these 2 scupper holes, should either be in the bottom of these two storage spaces, or they should be up there. And the reason I say that is that all the water that collects on my boat when I'm out there tends to collect right in these holes. And while that's not very much of a problem, normally, if I'm out on the ocean or something like that, a lot of water does end up collecting on the boat. And as far as the ones in the back, I've never really had a problem with those ones, but they are poorly placed, I think. And the drain plug, as I mentioned, there's one in the back, on the back right corner, or sorry, back left corner. If you tip the boat in the right angle, it does drain just fine, but I added another one actually just today up at the very tip of the bow, and to me that seems like an easier place to drain the boat. And as you know, you always have a little bit of water left in the boat once you actually drain it. And as far as draining and all that other stuff goes, there's another thing I'd like to mention. I don't know where it comes from, but it seems like if I'm out on the water, especially on the ocean or in a place where a lot of spray or extra water tends to come over into the top part of the boat, for some reason this dry hatch is never actually dry. The waterproof bag inside has been full of water, so my wallet and keys and everything were completely submerged. So the first time I took it out, I learned that lesson the hard way. I don't know if it just didn't have a good seal or if this wasn't on all the way or something, but it did take on a lot of water in that respect. And this hatch is kind of loose, so I'm thinking that that one also played a little bit of a part. But other than that, I didn't really have any problems. Another thing that you'll hear a lot of people talking about with this boat is this rod holder. This is the stock one that comes on it. It used to be mounted right here. I don't know if you can see the holes in the video or not, but this is the actual place that it came on the boat. And the reason that that's a bad spot is it's right in the way when you're trying to paddle. If you can imagine, my knees are about right here, so that's where I'm going to want to be paddling. So either I'm hitting the rod holder itself, or if I've even tried to put a fishing pole there, I'll hit the pole a lot. And it was just, you basically don't use that one. And so what I did was I added a rail there, and I added a rail on this side, and this is a Scotty rod holder. And so far I'm happy with those. Just moving them forward a little bit has actually improved my quality of life on this boat by a significant amount, because now I can get the use of the rod holder behind me. Before, whenever I would troll with the rods, I would put them in these rod holders in the back, which in my opinion, those are more of a storage location rather than a used location. And right here I can actually troll with them. I can set a bait out and let it sit while I'm perhaps casting another rod or whatnot. So moving back a little bit, in this compartment right here behind the seat, let me move the camera a little bit. In this compartment right behind the seat, I've got your pretty standard crate. I've got a couple tubes in here where I store my anchor. And this is my light for when I'm out in the early morning or evenings. And I've got a 3-position rod holder in the back. Normally I'll have 2 rods there and my GoPro on a pole in the middle one. And I used to have my cooler up front, but if you're catching a lot of fish, which is what everybody hopes to do, this kayak, the seat is so low, it's kind of hard to stand up and get to the front, which wasn't normally a problem because sometimes you don't catch a lot of fish, sometimes you do catch tons of fish. But anyway, I moved it to the back and I like it because it's more accessible to the seat. Right now I have my life vest stored behind the seat, but when I'm in the boat I'm normally wearing it. I do have some rod leashes built on here. Got one here, it's up to my neck, storing that in under here. And I've got a set of lip grippers that's hooked onto the seat frame. And then I've got 3 more rod leashes right here that I'll hook to my rods when I'm out fishing in rough water. I did make a cart on this. I used the design at Palmetto Kayak Fishing, and that served me pretty well. His design suggested that you use these on top of the cart itself. And I tried that for a long time, and it works out pretty well if you're on smooth ground or a hard packed surface. But I found whenever the kayak was wet, it would slide off, or if I would hit a root or something, it would easily slide off. So I switched to a couple pieces of 3/4 inch PVC that actually come up through the rear scupper, and that holds it much better. So moving forward to the more popular area of concern for kayak fishermen rigging a new kayak is the fish finder. I've got that here. So I've got the Lowrance Elite 4X fish finder. I originally bought it for ice fishing up north, but when I moved down south and bought this kayak, I wanted to mount it on the kayak, so I bought an extra transducer for it. And as you can see, I've got it mounted on a ram mount. This model actually is specific to the Elite 4X. That mount works pretty well for me. Normally, I'll have it pushed that way a little bit while I'm fishing. And that's just so it's a little closer. It's easier to read, easier to push the buttons. But this does swivel completely. And these wires run down to the transducer in the battery box, which I'll show you in a minute. This setup for running the wires like this came from Palmetto Kayak Fishing, and if you are interested in that, you can look his website up. When I ran this through, I did have to take this nut off right here to get this fitting up through the hole, but once I got it through the hole, I could put that back on and everything worked just fine. But this mount I just centered on this piece right here, and then drilled a hole for the wires behind it, and it sits there nicely. And as you can see from the seat of the kayak, it's very visible. And I'm sorry about this little blemish on the screen right here, but my auger up north scratched it on me. There's not much I can do about that now. But anyway, the inside of the hull is basically where I keep my battery, and the dry box that you see here is where the battery is housed. And that design also came from Palmetto Kayak Fishing. And if you follow these wires right here up, the transducer is actually sitting directly below this, mounted to the inside of the hull. And that's where it's sitting for me. It works well, and I don't have to modify the transducer or the kayak itself to get the transducer down there. Unfortunately, I have never cleaned these wires up. Never really has been a problem for me because I don't use the inside storage for much other than the transducer and the battery. But it is there. So moving on, you can see I've added a GoPro mount here, and there's another one up front there. And this is the drain plug that I mentioned earlier that I added. I just added that today. I'm hoping that that enables me to drain it just a little bit easier, because the one in the back, this one back here, actually, you have to tilt it a certain way to get this to be the lowest part of the boat. And sometimes it's a pain, sometimes it's not. But anyway, I figured having two of them can't hurt. That's where the cart comes up through the scupper holes. And you can see the pieces of PVC up there. That's 3/4 inch PVC. Next thing I'll move on to is, goes along with the GoPro mounts there, is I use a pole, which is that pole right there for my GoPro. That was just a painting pole that I got at Lowe's for about $6, and you can turn it and extend it a little bit and put it at the right height that you want. You can tilt the GoPro, put it in a rod holder if you want. The other mount that I'm using is this one. I built this out of a $8 gooseneck lamp at Walmart. There's a regular helmet mount on the bottom, and there's another helmet mount on the top, and the GoPro just mounts on there. And of course, the GoPro mount's completely flexible there. But the good thing about this is that you can form this mount however you like, and that goes right in there, and you can also put it up in the front as well. And if you want to switch this to a helmet mount or a chest mount or put it back on the pole, it's all quick connect, just like GoPro. As with everything with a kayak, I think if you spend enough time trying to figure out the problem, then you can find a good solution that works for you. And as far as suggestions that I have, get a good anchor, figure out how you like to store your stuff, and the forward space for me in the front of the bow, that has been the most problematic area. I either find myself putting stuff there and not being able to reach it on the boat, or I don't use it at all, and I feel like it's such a big area, I should be able to get something out of it. I just haven't found it yet. And another thing that I underutilize is the inside the hull storage. So as far as plans for the future, I'm going to take this round hatch off and seal it better, so hopefully that will not let as much water in. I'm going to plug these holes where I took the original rod holder off, and I'm probably going to raise this seat a little bit, because when I'm sitting on this, if I do want to lean forward and grab something from the front, I'm pretty much reclined back. The seat is so low that it takes a lot of work for me to get up there, and I'm not a big guy or anything, so I can only imagine a bigger person trying to get up there. And also, if you do want to stand up, it's slightly difficult from this position, because you're almost sitting on your butt right here. You're only 3 or 4 inches off the ground. And on top of that, if you raise the seat, this is almost perfect for a Plano box or something else to go under there. I tried sticking my net under there, these tools. I have a knife that I mount on there too, but that's all behind me right now. It's broken. But if I raise this just a hair, I'll be able to put those things under there, and instead of, when I'm in the heat of things, having them out here and the potential for losing things or just making a mess, I can stick it under there where it's out of the way. And I can force them under there the way it is right now, but when my butt's pushing down on this, it's hard to stick a couple of my boxes in there. Oh, and another thing that I would suggest is carry handles on the side. I don't often do it, but if you were having to carry the kayak across a small piece of land or just transporting it to and from your vehicle, having a handle on the side easily allows you to carry the boat with one person, as opposed to having to have a cart or dragging it, which I try not to do. The handles in the front and the back are useful for putting it in the water and carrying it around with a cart, but as far as transporting it by yourself, having handles on the side really helps. And I've had other kayaks before that only had handles on the side, and I never even thought twice about it because they were just there. If you look at the specifications on it, it is fairly heavy for a kayak of this size. It's not too much of a problem for me because most of the time I have it on the cart, but every once in a while there's a time where I really wish it was a little bit lighter.
Alright, well, as you can see, I'm on the water again. It's a beautiful day.